chosen ones. Listen closely, for the hours following the blood moon are historically the most unstable. You have just walked into a high-friction wave of energy that is currently compromising the standard decision-making protocols of the unawakened. The eclipse didn't just transform the lunar surface, it cracked open a surge of frequency that is hitting your system at this very moment. This is the shadow phase, where the energy migrates from the sky into your neural pathways, your impulses, and your reactive triggers. Your choices in the next 24 hours carry a weight that far exceeds their surface-level appearance. In this window, seemingly harmless actions can throw your alignment into a state of severe dissonance. You must recognize that you are currently operating within a systemic shift that has already landed, whether your conscious mind has registered the impact or not. The post-eclipse wave targets your head, specifically your reactions and impulses. If you feel a sudden, unexplainable urge to act, realize it is likely the energy seeking a grounded outlet. Things you may have already done this morning, engaging in low vibrational debates, consuming toxic data, or making impulsive commitments, are now acting as anchors, pulling you one step behind the new frequency. This is not a day for business as usual. It is a day of clinical observation. To maintain your lead on the shift, you must identify the subtle drains before they liquidate your progress. The universe is currently scanning for those who can maintain their sovereignty under pressure. If you are unaware of the specific pitfalls of this 24-hour window, you are already vulnerable to the shadow phase drift. Avoid any situation that forces an immediate emotional reaction. The grid is currently biased toward conflict. Do not finalize major life pivots today. The data is still settling. The clarity you feel may be an eclipse-induced illusion. High-noise environments will act as interference, preventing you from hearing the subtle instructions of the new timeline. The peak has passed, but the work has just begun. The hours of instability are your final test of self-mastery. By avoiding the common traps of the unawakened, you ensure that the energy of the blood moon serves as your propulsion rather than your anchor. We have crossed the threshold of the blood moon, and we are now in the most dangerous zone of the transition, the confirmation trap. Right now, your ego is desperate. It is hunting for miracles. You are refreshing your messages, chasing repeating numbers, and scanning every corner of your life for a sign that the portal actually worked. But I must warn you, the moment you start hunting for signs, you stop vibrating at the frequency of the shift. Today is not about fireworks. It is about seeds planted in the dark. The energy of the blood moon moves underground first, quietly, deeply, and almost suspiciously subtle. When the matrix doesn't immediately hand you a dramatic breakthrough, your mind does what it was programmed to do. It panics. It whispers that nothing has changed. It feeds you doubt to lower your frequency. Understand this. You are judging the soil before the roots have even had time to form. In the post-eclipse window, patience is not passive, it is power. The blood moon works in silence long before it reveals itself in sight. If you force the process, you risk uprooting the very blessing that is trying to anchor into your reality. If you think this silence is disappointing, you are missing the truth. The vacuum created by the eclipse is highly magnetic. While you are busy looking for good signs, there is an entire spectrum of leaching energy, shadow frequencies that nobody talks about, waiting for a moment of doubt to attach themselves to your field. When you panic because you don't see a sign, you open a doorway. These low vibrational attachments feed on your desperation for confirmation. They want to hijack the momentum of your new timeline before it can fully manifest. The seal is active, like this transmission right now, to signal to the universe that you are grounded in your power and do not need external proof. Subscribe and turn on the bell. In the silence following the blood moon, this frequency will keep you anchored when the shadows attempt to speak.
In the comments below,
type, "I am the seed," to lock your energy into the silent growth phase. Declare that you trust the roots being formed in the dark. If this channel has helped you navigate the nothingness of today with clarity, you can support me with a cup of coffee, because every seed you release becomes a river that reaches souls you may never meet. The donation link is waiting for you in the description and shown as a QR code in this video. Your support is a powerful energetic barrier, sealing your frequency against low vibrational attachments. Stop hunting for signs. Become the sign. The shift is already moving through your marrow. Trust the silence, for it is the architect of the miracle. Stay anchored, chosen one. The roots are holding. There is a peculiar phenomenon that takes root in the human psyche in the immediate aftermath of a blood moon. A sudden, almost frantic compulsion to alter one's physical form begins to stir deep within. You might find yourself staring into the mirror, gripped by a desperate need for a sharp haircut, a shock of neon color, a new piercing, a permanent ink mark on your skin, or an entirely different aesthetic. This impulse arrives without warning, vibrating with a sense of life or death urgency. It feels as if your very cells are demanding that you shed the skin of the person you were just yesterday, right this second. However, one must remember that urgency is rarely synonymous with intuition, and sheer intensity is a poor substitute for true clarity. Eclipses have a way of stripping away the protective layers of identity in a manner that nothing else can achieve. They drag ancient, dusty versions of your soul to the surface, leaving you feeling profoundly alienated and disconnected from the person you have been for years. That jarring sensation creates a vacuum, and people try to fill it by cutting, dyeing, or erasing their physical traits just to feel anchored in something new again. But here is the sobering truth. Any choice born from the white-hot fire of emotional turbulence will almost certainly feel like a betrayal once the cool, quiet air of calm returns. A blood moon magnifies the feeling of a transition, but it does not yet cement it. Right now, your reflection feels symbolic, as if changing your hair will magically rewrite the script of your life. That feeling is a temporary illusion, a side effect of the cosmic energy forcibly peeling away outdated self-perceptions. Step away from the scissors. Cancel the spontaneous tattoo appointment. Do not reach for the hair dye just because it feels right in this high-voltage moment. Give your spirit 3 full days to breathe. If that desire remains steady after your internal tides have retreated and your energy has stabilized, then it is an authentic alignment, not a reactive twitch. More often than not, people realize they did not actually want a permanent change. They just hungered for the fleeting sensation of being new. Beyond the trap of impulsive reinvention lies something even more delicate that many people unknowingly sabotage. While manifesting during an eclipse is not inherently problematic, in fact, the current energy makes your intentions feel razor-sharp, more honest, and more transparent than usual. The real danger lies in the immediate aftermath. The collapse occurs when you begin broadcasting your visions, your goals, and your breakthroughs before the celestial energy has even had a chance to settle. This is where the foundation of your future starts to crack. The moment you verbalize your vision too early, you expose its tender, unformed roots to people who lack the emotional or spiritual capacity to nurture them. Worse, you offer them up to those who would rather see your evolution fail. This isn't about superstition or old wives' tales. It is about protecting your energetic vulnerability.
After an eclipse,
Your new intentions are like wet clay, malleable, fragile, and still absorbing the frequency of a new timeline. By talking about them before they have hardened, you bleed out their power. Not every set of ears is worthy of access to the future you are painstakingly building. In the wake of a blood moon, this truth hits harder than ever. There is another hidden psychological trap to consider. Once you speak a plan out loud to the world, you subconsciously lock yourself into a contract with a version of yourself that may have been meant to be fleeting. Even if the path isn't truly aligned, you end up feeling a false sense of responsibility for a manifestation that was never intended to last. The eclipse uproots old, dead timelines, but talking too soon forces you back into the soil you just escaped. Silence in this window is not about being secretive. It is a profound act of power. And now, let us take a moment for today's comment of the day. Stay aligned. Stay grounded. I truly hope the month of March is filled with unexpected blessings for every one of you. Alignment is the tool that keeps you focused on your true north, while being grounded ensures you remain balanced as the winds shift. Blessings have a beautiful way of finding people who embody both qualities. As we step into a new month, this is the exact kind of energy that sets the tone for everything to come. Calm, intentional, and wide open. I appreciate you sharing your journey here. Every time a blood moon appears, the digital world immediately floods with dramatic, apocalyptic interpretations. You will hear whispers of omens, dark portals, and warnings of imminent collapse. Because this particular eclipse was a total lunar eclipse, the intensity and hysteria online multiply exponentially. People feed off the adrenaline of fear, and that fear travels across the collective consciousness much faster than the simple truth. But let us look at reality. Nothing is hunting you. The universe is not a predator, and you are not being punished for your past. Nothing is collapsing during this window unless its foundation was already riddled with instability long before today. The eclipse did not manufacture chaos, it merely shone a crimson light on the cracks that were already there. The problem is never the sky above us. The problem is how quickly we allow our imaginations to spin out of control when something looks visually dramatic. Fear-based spiritual thinking is one of the most damaging reactions people fall into after an eclipse. The collective nervous system tightens, and suddenly every stray sound feels like a sign. Every minor inconvenience feels like a warning, and every passing emotion feels supernatural. But the majority of that is simply anxiety wearing a spiritual costume. If you allow fear to be the narrator of your eclipse experience, you forfeit your power instantly. Fear is the fastest way to misinterpret a profound blessing as a looming threat. The truth is that a blood moon is not a curse or a spiritual attack. It is not the universe telling you that you are unworthy or unprepared. The eclipse is a mirror, not a monster. It shows you exactly where you are in flow, where you are resisting, and where you are long overdue for a shift. That is the extent of it. This is where your personal empowerment comes in. You are not at the mercy of the celestial bodies. You are the sole person responsible for your response to them. The eclipse does not decide your fate. It simply highlights what you are finally ready to handle. So, if your mind starts drifting into the shadows of superstition, bring it back to center. Remind yourself that nothing external holds power over you unless you hand it over willingly. Right now, you are standing in one of the most potent energetic windows of the entire year. The last thing you should do is shrink or hide. If you allow fear to take the wheel, you will miss the genuine opportunity for growth that the blood moon is trying to hand you. Energy spike from the eclipse alters the energy spike from the eclipse, alters the way your system holds and releases tension. This is why overeating or choosing heavy, greasy, dense meals right after a blood moon can make you feel unusually drained, irritated, or spiritually sluggish, far more than it normally would on a standard day. It is not because the food is cursed or the day is magically dangerous. It is because eclipses thin the boundary between your emotional state and your physical reactions. Your body is processing everything with heightened intensity, including the fuel you provide it. If you dump a heavy load into your system right now, your energy gets weighed down before it even has a chance to settle into its new rhythm. Think of it like this. Your entire being is currently recalibrating. Your nerves are heightened, your awareness is sharper, and your emotional state is more impressionable. A dense meal will hit your system like an emotional brick wall, even if it is something you typically enjoy. Do not celebrate the shadow by weighing yourself down. This isn't about restriction or dieting, it is about maintaining clarity. Opt for lighter meals, fresh foods, plenty of hydration, and intentional eating. You are giving your body the space it needs to integrate whatever shifted within you today. You are helping your energy stay clear and vibrant instead of muddy and stagnant. When you eat lightly in this window, it isn't about being spiritually pure. It is about being functional. It is about ensuring that your physical state does not sabotage your emotional evolution. Once you understand this physical connection, the way people behave after an eclipse starts to make even more sense. There are sneaky ways people block their own alignment without ever realizing it. Most people do not think twice about the way they sleep, but on the night of a total lunar eclipse, your sleep environment becomes a crucial factor in your recovery. The eclipse may be physically over, but its energetic residue is still very much active. Your mind is unusually open right now, processing, reorganizing, and trying to settle into a new internal landscape. This is why sleeping directly facing a large window or allowing the moonlight to pour straight onto your body can leave you feeling restless, overstimulated, or unable to reach deep REM sleep. It is not that the light of the moon is inherently harmful, but rather that eclipses represent unfinished closure, a chapter that is shifting but hasn't fully sealed yet. When your sleeping position leaves you completely exposed to that lingering reflective light, your subconscious mind interprets it as a signal to stay alert and vigilant. Even psychologically, light exposure tells your nervous system that the day is not yet finished. When you pair that with the heightened emotional sensitivity of an eclipse, your entire night becomes an exhausting continuation of the internal processing you should have left behind hours ago. These small physical choices carry immense weight after a celestial event like this, because your emotional waves are heavily influenced by your environment. Something as simple as repositioning your bed, drawing the heavy curtains, or turning your face away from the window can dramatically alter the quality of your rest. You are giving your mind explicit permission to close the door on the day and recover, instead of staying half awake in a state of subtle vigilance. Position matters more than you think. On a night like this, it truly does. How you place yourself determines whether you wake up feeling grounded or whether you carry the turbulence of the eclipse into your tomorrow. A total lunar eclipse also has a brutal way of dragging certain truths to the surface, often abruptly and without a filter. You might suddenly become aware of a toxic habit you have ignored, a pattern of behavior you didn't want to admit to, or a reality you hoped would never catch up to you. The moment this truth appears, many people fall into the trap of punishing themselves. They lash out internally for not being better, faster, stronger, or wiser before this day arrived. But this is the single worst reaction you can have in the wake of an eclipse. Self-punishment effectively slams shut the very doorway that the eclipse just opened for you. The purpose of an eclipse is illumination, not humiliation. Its job is to show you what is finally ready to shift, not to shame you for what you didn't fix 5 years ago. Yet, people will take that newfound clarity and twist it into self-criticism, convincing themselves they have failed simply because something uncomfortable came to light. What they forget is that awareness itself is the gift. It is progress. It is movement. Nothing revealed to you today is meant to break you. It is meant to release you from the weight you've been carrying. When you punish yourself for what the eclipse exposed, you anchor that old version of yourself even deeper into your psyche. You trap yourself in the very pattern that was trying to rise to the surface and leave. Instead of judging yourself, this is the moment to breathe, to observe, and to choose a different path. The red light of the blood moon does not condemn you. It reveals the exit sign from the cycle you've been stuck in. Self-compassion is not a weakness here. It is a high-level strategy. When you meet the truth with softness, it transforms. When you meet it with harshness, it hides. There is something uniquely delicate about the hours following a total lunar eclipse. Even though the astronomical event has passed, your body is still tracing the same path the moon took, moving from brightness through the deep shadow and slowly back into the light again. This isn't just poetic symbolism. Your nervous system responds to this shift in a very physical way. It becomes more impressionable and more reactive to the stimuli around you, especially to artificial light. When you surround yourself with harsh overhead lighting, bright phone screens, or neon-lit spaces, you interrupt that natural descent into calm. Your brain reads bright artificial light as a demand to stay in survival mode. Dimming the lights tonight is not about being mystical or moody. It is about aligning yourself with your own biological needs. Your system is trying to settle after absorbing a massive energetic spike, and the last thing it needs is to be blasted with stimuli. When you soften the environment around you, your mind relaxes, your breath deepens, and your emotional state begins to stabilize. Your nervous system cannot find a place to land if you are constantly pushing it back into the air with high stimulation. Lower lighting also reinforces the beautiful symbolism of the eclipse transition. The moon did not jump from shadow to brightness in a single instant. It eased its way back, slowly reclaiming its glow. When you mirror that gentleness in your own home, you allow your system to recalibrate in the same smooth, grounded way. You are not rushing your emotions. You are not forcing clarity before it is ready. You are letting the day end the way nature intended, quietly, gradually, and without sensory warfare. Even your intuition functions better in softer light. High stimulation crowds out your inner voice. Low stimulation invites it forward. You will notice your thoughts becoming clearer and your energy feeling more contained. These are not small effects. They shape the way you move into the coming days. The goal for tonight is not darkness. It is softness. Give yourself enough silence and dimness to let your body close the energetic loop that the eclipse opened. Once you do, everything that comes next physically, emotionally, and spiritually, will meet you with far more ease. And if you are still here, still watching, I want to say thank you. Truly. This eclipse did not come to overwhelm you or break your spirit. It came to realign the parts of your life that have been waiting for your attention. If even one part of this message helped you understand your own inner landscape a little better, then you are already moving in the right direction. Do not rush to interpret every single feeling. Do not pressure yourself to make sense of every shift immediately. Just take the next few days gently, as if you are walking into a new room and letting your eyes slowly adjust to the light. You do not need force. You do not need absolute certainty. You just need your own presence. Hope has a funny way of showing up the very moment you stop demanding answers. And trust me, it is already on its way to you.